Senator Mike Braun celebrating on election night as he becomes Indiana's next governor-elect. We spoke with our panel on Tuesday night about his win and the overall political climate in our state this year.
Mike Braun owes his race to a couple of different people, Dan. Number one, obviously the Donald Trump supporters and the Donald Trump crowd, but also those folks who will vote for Republican, period. Longtime Republicans didn't feel comfortable going over to Jennifer McCormick, even though she used to be a Republican. So there's that.
I think it just goes to show that Donald Trump is a tremendous draw on the Republican Party. And he's managed to carve out his, sort of his brand. And voters have responded to it here in Indiana.
That was former Democratic lawmaker Terry Austin and former mayoral candidate Abdul Hakim Shabazz. Let's bring in the rest of our panel right now. With us here in studio today, we have Dr. Laura Wilson from the University of Indianapolis, Tony Samuel, who was vice chair of the Indiana Trump campaign in 2016, Democratic strategist Laura Beck, and former state lawmaker Mike Murphy. Great to have you all with us again. Mike, I'll start with you. The same question that we had there for Abdul and Terry. How much did the presidential race impact all of these other races here in Indiana?
I think it does down to a point. I have always believed that the legislative races are much more about local issues and local personalities. Who do you like? Who do you not like? But there's no doubt that it had an impact on Jim Banks, who tracked Trump almost perfectly. And then Marlin Stutzman, I think, was the best vote getter for the Republican delegation at 65% or so. And right down through Braun, who helped Braun, it helped Rokita. But once it gets to the legislative races, those are two, the candidates then, and it's all about personality and real issues.
Laura, what do you think, and what do you think was the biggest factor in the election here in Indiana and across the country? Inflation, the economy, was that what it came down to?
Well, I think inflation is a key part of it, and I think I do agree with Mike, particularly if we unpack this, looking at Indiana. The Trump factor and the Trump brand is really incredibly strong here. And I was thinking back to, when we think about it, we had the last 3 presidential contests in Indiana. Donald Trump has been at the top of the ticket, and he has brought out a number of different people. And if you look back to 2012, when he wasn't at the top of the ticket, John Gregg lost that governor's race by 3 points.
Close race.
It was a close race. Right. Now, that's not to say that Trump is the only reason why we did not do well here. I think it's easy to have a lot of hot takes right after an election and to, go out on X or social media and share your opinions. But I think we've got a lot of work to do, and we have to really step away from nationalizing local races, among others.
Tony, what was the biggest factor in your view amidst this very stunning political comeback for the former president?
Yeah, it was a great night. It's been a great week. Let me start by saying this. Rex Early is smiling down on all of us watching the Trump win. Rex and I, as you know, were traveling around the state for Trump in 2016. What we heard from so many people were that they hadn't voted before, or they hadn't voted in decades,
a lot of new
because
voters,
they didn't trust Washington. They were waiting for somebody like this. That's the Trump voter that I've been talking about, and now we all are talking about, that comes out when he's out there, and it helps when he's on the ticket, leading the ticket, and it helps others, and it lifts all boats. But I really do believe that they care about the issues, everything we've been talking about, the border, crime, inflation, but they also felt like this is the one thing we can do for this guy that's been attacked so much over the years and even had 2 attempts on his life. We can come out and we can vote for him. And I think that's what did it. For Braun, he had a historic win. And for the others, Banks and Micah Beckwith and Rokita, congratulations to all of them.
Laura, how will history document this very, very unusual election year?
Yeah, well, I think we talked in 2022 about whether or not we see a red wave. It's supposed to be a referendum on Biden, and typically the party that's in power does very poorly. We didn't see it in 2022, but we definitely saw that this week in terms of the election results. So I think we're going to be focused on this as an economy election, right? It was the issue of social issues for Democrats, the economy for Republicans. Clearly, the economic message resonated and won out. And I think in terms of voter turnout, we saw a decrease relative to what we saw in 2020, which will remain a couple cycles from now. Was that a blip in history? Was that a really unusual, odd moment? We can all agree it was a weird year. Yeah. Or is this something that we see in a trend larger?
So, Laura, where do Democrats go from here at the state level? We could see a new party chair, it looks like, and we heard some in the McCormick campaign on social media critical of the turnout apparatus in Marion County. Where does your party start to pick up the pieces here in Indiana and beyond?
Well, I think just speaking, I think looking at Indiana in particular, I think the first thing we have to do is we have to look at the data. It's really easy to rely on exit polling, but it's not necessarily going to have the accurate information you have. So I think you've got to look at the data, you build out your plan from there. I think we had some really good candidates, and we did have some very good wins in certain areas, particularly in some of these legislative races, which we know are very gerrymandered in these districts. So we can look at some of those campaigns to see what the lessons learned are. I also think what's really important is to note is we tend to do well in municipal elections because those are not nationalized issues. Those are local issues. Those are about bread and butter. Those are things that Democrats can talk about and run cities very well. And so I think that's also a piece where we can look at that and really draw some lessons as we move forward.
Meantime, Mike, as the Braun administration gets set to take office in January, they held a press conference this past week. What are you watching for in terms of the transition process?
Well, first of all, I think that Braun has appointed a very good transition team. I mean, with Victor Smith, he's a legendary economic development guy. His father was a legend before him. And then you have Ryan Kitchell, who's kind of always been a steady hand in state government. Even when he's not in state government, he's a steady hand. So I think Braun picked a couple people to be in charge who are going to help guide the newer people, the less experienced people. And I think believe his agenda. I think he's going to start right in January. Again, as I said on Election Day, they're going to make mistakes. Mitch Daniels made mistakes, but by February they'll be cooking.
And Tony, the governor-elect, says he wants to tackle property taxes this year. He wants to tackle health care reform, though he says that could take a couple years. What are you expecting to see from this next session?
Yeah, he's going to work very well with the legislature. Remember, he was a state rep for a few years. He's got great relationships, just about all of the Republicans. I'm sure all of them support him. But also school choice and education, and also energy costs. He's been talking a lot about making energy more affordable. We've got to improve the grid and improve the whole energy policy.
Well, Laura, when it comes to that press conference this past week, it was notable that the lieutenant governor-elect was not there at that press conference. You have to wonder what kind of influence he'll carry in this new Braun administration, perhaps exerting some pressure to move the administration further to the right on some issues.
Well, we'll certainly see. I think we make a lot of attention, a lot about this lieutenant governor because we know he was selected by the delegates and not by the candidate himself. But Braun, in answering during the campaign, said, I am the top of the ticket. I will be the governor. And typically, lieutenant governors don't have a lot of power, so there may be some struggle there. I agree with Tony. I think there's going to be a much more amiable relationship between the governor and the Indiana General Assembly. There might be some tension within the executive branch, but at the end of the day, constitutionally and power-wise, that power belongs to the governor.
We'll see how it all shakes out. Coming up next, Indiana voters react to this week's election results. You'll hear what they're telling us about their hopes and fears and the need to come together after this contentious election.